So when we think about the end of a king's reign, we often picture someone kind of winding down. But with King David, that's not the story at all. In his final days, he wasn't just retiring. He was acting like a master architect, meticulously laying down the blueprint for Israel's entire future, making sure everything he built would not just survive, but absolutely thrive after he was gone.
All right, let's jump right into his plan. We're going to break down this blueprint into 4 key parts. We'll start with the people who kept daily life in order. Then we'll look at the structures that made the whole kingdom strong. After that, we get to the really personal moment, his final charge to his son Solomon. And finally, we'll see how this whole thing was cemented in a legacy of worship.
So, first things first, we're starting on the ground floor. See, before you can build a massive, lasting kingdom, you have to make sure the most important place in the entire nation, God's own house, is running with absolute precision and holiness. And that's exactly where chapter 26 kicks off.
I mean, that's a huge question, right? And David's answer is fascinating. He doesn't start with some grand, sweeping speech. No, he starts with something way more practical. Organization, down to the smallest detail. He knew that a big vision is totally useless if you don't have the right people in the right places, faithfully handling the day-to-day.
So David sets up 3 critical groups of people. These roles were designed to manage the spiritual and the civil life of the nation. And you got to understand, these weren't just jobs. They were the foundational pillars meant to uphold order, justice, and the pure integrity of worship.
First up, the gatekeepers. And listen, these guys were not just bouncers. Think of them more like guardians of a sacred space. They were in charge of who and what came in and out, basically maintaining that crucial boundary between the holy and the everyday world. A really important job.
And right alongside them, you have the treasurers. Their job was all about faithful stewardship. They managed this immense wealth, all the gold, silver, and precious items that had been dedicated to God's work. They had to make sure every single piece was accounted for and used exactly as it was intended.
So, the big takeaway here, a healthy, godly nation, according to David's blueprint, isn't just about having a great king. No, it's built on the faithful service of every single person in every single role who gets how important order and dedicated stewardship really are.
All right, let's move on to the next phase of the blueprint. Now we're zooming out. David takes those same principles of detailed organization from the temple and applies them to the entire kingdom, creating these massive pillars of national strength.
Now check out this system. It's absolutely brilliant. To keep the nation secure, David sets up a standing army. But with a clever twist, he creates 12 divisions, and each one, with 24,000 men, would only serve for 1 month out of the year. This meant Israel was always protected, but the average person wasn't permanently yanked from their farm or their family. It was just so efficient and sustainable.
But, a strong nation needs a lot more than just an army. So David also created this really comprehensive civil administration. He put skilled overseers in charge of every single part of the kingdom's economy. We're talking crops in the fields, vineyards on the hills, even the camels and the sheep. Every resource was being carefully looked after.
And this just shows you David's genius for leadership, doesn't it? He understood that real lasting stability comes from having both military security and a thriving economy. And it was all built on his ability to delegate responsibility to people who are capable and trustworthy. It's really a masterclass in how to run a country.
Okay, now we get to the real heart of it all. The kingdom is organized, it's secure. David now turns to maybe his most important task, making sure the vision for the future gets passed on successfully to the next generation. This is the big moment of transfer, the passing of the torch.
And to do this, David didn't just, send a memo. He gathered all the leaders of Israel, the princes, the captains, the officials, everyone, right there in Jerusalem. This wasn't some private chat. This was a public declaration, a massive national event designed to get everybody on the same page, united behind Solomon and the divine plan.
And he starts with this incredible moment of humility. He stands up in front of everyone and shares his deepest personal desire to build the temple, and then he tells them why God said no. He owns his past as a man of war, making it crystal clear that this next chapter, this building phase, belongs to a man of peace, his son, Solomon.
Then he turns directly to Solomon and just listen to this charge. It's not about politics. It's not about military strategy. It's deeply personal and it's all spiritual. The number one command is to know God personally and to serve him with your whole heart. That, David says, is the real foundation for a successful reign.
And he doesn't just hand over a vague idea. He gives Solomon the detailed pattern, the actual blueprints for the temple. And here's the truly amazing part. David says these plans weren't his own design. He says, God himself made me understand in writing by his hand upon me. He was passing on a literal divine blueprint.
So, the structure is in place, the successor has been named, the blueprint is delivered. What's left? Well, in this final section, we see how David cements his entire legacy, not with force or laws, but through this incredible collective explosion of generosity and pure worship.
David totally leads by example, giving a massive donation from his own personal treasury. And inspired by this, the leaders and all the people just respond with this overwhelming generosity. They don't give because it's a tax or they have to. The text makes a point of saying they offered willingly, with a perfect heart. It's just a staggering amount of resources for building the temple.
Seeing all this, David is just completely overwhelmed, and he breaks into this beautiful prayer. It's this powerful declaration that God is sovereign over everything. He acknowledges that all the power, all the wealth, all the glory that Israel has, it all belongs to God anyway, not to him or any other king. And this right here, this is the heart of it all. It's a statement of just profound humility. David realizes that even this incredible generosity isn't really theirs. They are simply giving back a tiny portion of the abundance that God had already poured out on them. It frames the entire project not as a human achievement, but as an act of worship.
So, with the blueprint delivered, the resources all gathered, and the people totally united in this one purpose, the transition of power is just seamless. David dies, and Solomon's reign begins on the most stable foundation you can possibly imagine, not just politically, but spiritually.
In the end, David's final chapters teach us such a powerful lesson about what a real legacy is. It's not just about what you accomplish in your own lifetime, but about how well you prepare others for the future. It's built through careful planning, faithful stewardship, and a heart that points all the glory back to where it belongs. And it kind of leaves us with a big question to chew on. What kind of blueprint are we building for those who are coming after us?